everyone. We hope your Sunday has been delay-free so far. We're very excited to brief you on our penetration test of Robert A. Kalka Metropolitan Skyport. I'd like to introduce you to our team. I'm Yasmin. This is Donovan, Aditya, Glenn, Ben, and Cody. So here's a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. First, we'll review the objectives and methodologies that guided our pen test. Then, we'll present our critical findings, as well as a summary of the remediations we've seen since our first engagement. Then, we'll point out the major regulatory consequences of these findings. And finally, we'll point out some of the strengths we observed in your architecture, as well as opportunities for RACMIS to distinguish itself from its peers in the aviation industry in the future.
Thanks, Yasmin. Our mission this weekend was to provide RACMIS with a holistic security posture assessment, which we have now completed. Our assessment had 4 primary objectives. First, a comprehensive evaluation of RACMIS's attack surface, which includes anything that a malicious actor might readily access. Second, we performed in-depth offensive security operations in order to uncover and demonstrate the exploitability of real vulnerabilities within RACMIS's environment. Third, we mapped these findings to critical risks to RACMIS's business. And fourth, we identified specific and actionable recommendations for RACMIS's teams to adopt in order to remediate these vulnerabilities. The scope of our penetration test included hosts on RACMIS's corporate, guest, train, and user networks, as well as RACMIS's cloud environment hosted in Amazon Web Services, and an investigation of some anomalous radio emissions detected on the premises. In order to assess and contextualize the risk associated with our findings, we leveraged our comprehensive risk index, which synthesizes the many dimensions of vulnerabilities into a single score for the ease of prioritization for your IT and security teams. Our comprehensive risk index incorporates the inherent severity of the vulnerability, the degree of exposure within your environment, the relative ease of exploitation for an attacker, the ultimate business impact if that exploit is to be actively exploited, and our estimate of the effort to fix for your security and IT teams.
Thank you, Ben. We've categorized all of our findings based on their comprehensive risk index into 5 categories: critical, high, medium, low, and informational. As you can see, most of the findings are medium severity. However, there are 8 critical findings that may present a major threat to RACMIS's operations. In particular, the 3 I want to highlight. The first is that our team gained unauthorized access to mission-critical cyber-physical systems, the compromise of which could prevent a threat to the physical safety of travelers within RACMIS. Second of all, our team discovered exposed, sensitive, financial, and personally identifiable information on RACMIS and its customers, which can lead to potentially millions of dollars of losses for both the business and its customers. And finally, our team identified insufficient Windows Active Directory security controls, allowing an attacker to completely compromise the network's primary authentication mechanisms.
Thank you, Cody. Reviewing the findings from our previous engagement, we find that 30% of the vulnerabilities identified in November have been remediated as of this weekend's engagement, leaving 16 unremediated from then. We continue to recommend mitigating or remediating these vulnerabilities, but regardless of remediations applied, there will always remain some residual risk that cannot be compensated for with the controls we recommend. We've identified 3 key areas of residual risk for RACMIS, that being social engineering, vulnerabilities in in-house software, and physical security, for which no controls will perfectly eliminate all of your risks. That said, we also observed some critical strengths in RACMIS's security posture during our engagement. Account lockout policies are very effective at blocking takeover of high-value accounts. Network segmentation is also very effective at blocking access to some parts of RACMIS's business if others are compromised in the network. Finally, we observed significant use of secure software frameworks by RACMS's developers and in-house software, allowing their developers to continue focusing on exceeding in their business and making differentiating digital features while avoiding common security pitfalls in software development.
Thank you, Glenn. Now I'd like to talk about some regulatory and compliance issues facing RACMS. Our findings are especially important in the context of regulatory and compliance frameworks imposed by agencies like the FAA, the TSA, and CISA. These agencies have long had a vested interest in ensuring that the aviation industry and the broader transportation sector remain safe and secure. For example, in March 2023, the TSA introduced a new directive with a set of cybersecurity requirements that airport operators must follow, centering around the pillars of network segmentation, access control, continuous monitoring, and timely patching. Our investigation finds that RACMS falls short of these standards, especially due to a lack of access control and custom in-house software. Additionally, RACMS's security issues may also prevent an obstacle for future funding for airport redevelopment. The FAA's Airport Terminal Program distributes $1 billion of these funds across the country annually to airports, but would require RACMS to show and maintain a continuous and directed effort to consider and remediate physical and cyber threats facing the organization. Our investigation shows that RACMS has a long way to go in terms of meeting the security standards of the 2020 to be eligible for this funding. Therefore, RACMS's security issues prevent a potential financial obstacle for the future, putting its continuous operations at stake from a regulatory and financial perspective. Let's ensure that RACMS remains secure and financially resilient. And now to Donovan.
Thank you, Adi. So, sorry about that. How can we ensure RACMS's network and therefore future financial security? We have identified 3 key opportunities for improvement. The first of which is patching software such that it remains up to date. The second, enforcing better password policies. And the third, adhering to the principle of least privilege. By reinforcing these focus areas, we lay the groundwork for a security culture that is as resilient as it is vigilant, ensuring that RACMS's operations and life safety responsibilities remain secure in the ever-evolving digital cyber threat landscape. As we near the end of our presentation, we'd like to highlight some primary takeaways. The first of which is that RACMS's security posture has improved commendably since our previous engagement, and that is cause to celebrate. However, we must remain watchful, as there still remain critical weaknesses in RACMS's security posture. We at Team 2 see this as an opportunity for RACMS to distinguish itself, not just to ascend, but to soar as a pinnacle and an exemplar of cybersecurity in the aviation industry. As leaders in our respective industries, Team 2 is grateful for the opportunity to partner with RACMS and ensure that your security evolution is a key differentiator and advantage in the aviation industry. At this juncture, we'd be very happy to take any questions you might have.
Yes, thank you very much. Really a solid, comprehensive treatment of this. You know, we've become pretty obsessed with the TSA regs from March, which I'm really glad you called out. Based on your assessment, you know, what subset of those regs do you think that we're most exposed on?
Yeah, I think in particular the attention to access control from those TSA regulations is particularly important. In the scope of our engagement, we found a number of web applications running cyber physical systems that had many unauthenticated controls that would allow an attacker to take advantage of that infrastructure and pose a physical threat to those users, of the systems. So definitely the access control bit would be a critical issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yes?
I have a 2-part question here. How did you decide which of the risks you were going to mitigate? What process did you go about deciding that? And then of the remaining risks, how many are critical or high? My assumption from your takeaway slide is that there are still some critical risks that remain open.
Absolutely. So to clarify